Oh, God.
Yeah, fuck the world.
But hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, saucers. I will start this by saying, hold on, Molly. Everyone go on YouTube because Molly's bedroom right now looks so angelic with the light.
Oh, the sunlight. Yeah,
the
it looks
sunset
pretty right now.
is like going hard on her bed. It is
I literally
gorgeous.
just told Alyssa that I wish I had a cool, like, separate room for a studio set up because all that I get to put in the background is like, welcome to where I sleep. But here you are. The sunlight does look pretty.
Yeah, it's fucking gorgeous. I mean, my background right now is kind of basic, you guys can see, but it's a work in progress for our normal
if you call
SOS studio.
SOS basic.
It's true. We're not basic. We're anything but. We're so unique. Anyway, speaking about what's unique, more importantly, what's uniquely American.
Yeah.
What's American is apple pie.
What a segue. That was beautiful.
Is all of the shootings that has happened. And we are now talking about the shooting that happened. We are recording this on Wednesday. So this happened yesterday, the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. An elementary school, Robb Elementary School, that has left 19 children and 2 adults dead, 2 teachers. And it's insane. And we thought we'd want to talk about it with you guys because this is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
To be living in a country that, I mean, like, we talk about so many issues in this country, and this is just one of the myriad. It never ends with our problems. But kids dying, it's just like...
It's like tragedy. There are always going to be one-off, like, freak accidents or tragedies that happen here and there in the world in humanity. But the thing is, it's indisputable. This is such a predictable pattern. This keeps happening. And like, we're going to get into obviously facts and stats, but also our own personal opinions and feelings about it. And I'm just like, it cannot be just whittled down to, well, it's a gun issue or it's a mental health issue. Ugh. Because the real issue is we live in a racist, capitalistic, sexist, classist society. That is really what it is. But then when you look at it, it's like every other developed country, if you want to put it that way, first world country, developed country, has our mental health statistics are not drastically off from everybody else's in the world. There's obviously variation, but our statistics when it comes to mass shootings are drastically off. So it is not, you cannot reduce it to mental health. Obviously, the people who go on mass shooting sprees have mental health issues, obviously, but it's not a thing of like, oh, well, it's this or that. And then, kind of jumping ahead, but I'll touch on this later. But when you get into, if you purely, it's like, well, we take everyone's guns away. Okay, but what does that mean historically in our political climate? That means that definitely people of color, people of lower socioeconomic status do not have access to these things right away. Yeah. And then, but there's always going to be, who will remain with access? It's the people in power. It's the military. It's the government. It's a lot of white men. It's just like, it's not flat out restrictive laws are not the answer either, because the history of how those go down, even if the wording of the law is not specifically racist, the way that they're enforced is always racist. It's always sexist, classist. And so we can't just diminish it to those 2 things. No,
we're disgusting. Everything we do is to keep the patriarchy, the white patriarchy, in power at all times. Yeah. And if they really gave a shit about mental health, then healthcare would be universal. We would have subsidized healthcare. Everything would be socialized and have easily access to mental health facilities, therapies, you name it. But they don't believe in that. So they can talk all they want about America #1 here at one day, and then the next day be like, it's a mental health issue. You can't take away my cunt. You can't take away my pew pew. You can't do it. Because why? Because we're a fucking third world country with a Gucci belt.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. We are a fraud, and everyone is seeing our true colors. And we're just like, apparently not even ashamed of it because we just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh yeah. So like before Tuesday, there has been at least 39 shootings in K to 12 grade schools, colleges, and universities in 2022 alone, resulting in at least 10 deaths and 51 injuries. And that was, before this one. And so there's been 212 mass shootings so far this year. Want another fun fact?
It's May.
Want another fun fact?
Yes.
As of May 25th, which was yesterday, 24 children have been killed in school shootings, and between 17 and 21 on-duty law enforcement officers have died from gunfire. You know what that means? More children, young children, have died from gun violence than cops on the line of duty.
And, when people are
insane.
Yeah. If they're
like, go fuck yourself. Like all the funding that goes toward these fucking cops.
I know. And if cops are going to be there and should exist, at the very least, they should stop children from getting slaughtered. That's indisputable. So if they're going to be there, which they are, because they're not defunded, we're not restructuring the way we do things no. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so they're here. So what are they actually doing? Because they actually, yeah.
We'll get into that because they don't do shit. Sorry. We've gone into this before on this podcast. Like, we did more training at Bottega Louis than any cop has ever done.
Yes, and that for everyone that doesn't know, that's a fucking restaurant. And we did. And our job security was way more fragile. Yep.
And this is obviously less than 2 weeks before. It was less than 2 weeks before the shooting yesterday was the Buffalo shooting, where a gunman opened fire at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, and he fatally shot 10 people, most of them African American.
And that's
black,
because
and this was white supremacy.
He Googled where the highest percentage Black population was and went to that neighborhood.
I mean, and guess what? He walked out alive.
Oh, that's crazy. How did that happen? Oh my God.
I can't. But let's bring it back to Texas for a second, and like what specifically led to this one. I mean, like so many things led to all of this, but like to zero in, last year, Governor Greg Abbott, Sweetie Pie Abbott, signed into law several measures making it easier to own and carry guns in his state. One allows Texans over 21 to carry a handgun like the one the shooter had without first getting a background check. So,
okay.
So you're allowed to just walk around after 21. I mean, this kid was 18, so he had to go to North Dakota to get his 2 ARs for his birthday. But you can no background check, no nothing. At the time, the law was criticized by law enforcement officials, which is surprising. Even the law enforcement was like, ooh, uh-oh.
Yeah, but also it happened.
Right. And a poll from the University of Texas and the Texas Tribune showed that about 60% of Texas voters did not want adults to be able to carry a gun without a license. And this is Texas. These are gun owners. I will live and die by my guns.
Red-blooded.
Yeah, like, gun rights, all that shit. They did not want this law, but Greg Abbott was like, oh, well. And then Ted Cruz, a senator, love him, said that the answer, as he saw it, with all the mass shootings, was to provide more guns at schools, a popular idea among conservative leadership in the state after all the campus shootings. But as we said before, armed police failed to stop the massacre in Uvalde after engaging the alleged shooter before he entered the school. So a cop was there.
More than one. He was far outnumbered, and they emptied their rounds, missed every shot, and then said that he had protective gear on, but he didn't.
And then they were like, they retracted it later.
Yeah, they missed every shot.
Had something.
And then they just watch him walk into a school and murder. So I also want to say, before we go into more of these statistics, like, the answer, like saying the only notable change since Sandy Hook in how we handle these situations, or how we try to eliminate them, is that kids are now formally trained to hide and barricade themselves and run or fight for their lives. That's the solution that we as a country came up with since Sandy Hook. That is the only notable change, to put the responsibility on the children and wish them luck. Yeah. And then to arm some teachers, and they're not even fully trained. They're not even, and also you have to like keep up that type of training. If you're doing target practice, you don't just get a certification and then you have a gun and forever you're good. Like, you got to keep it up, but they don't do that. So more cops at schools is clearly not the answer. Arming teachers is clearly not the answer.
They don't do shit.
Like,
arming teachers. It's like, so what would they like? Like, the good guy with the gun argument makes zero sense, because we have so many instances where there are good guys with the gun and they do nothing. They can't do anything because it is such a high stake situation that human error is going to happen.
And if there's a good guy with a gun who uses it because his apartment was broken into in the middle of the night, he's killed.
If they're black.
Because he's black.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor's boyfriend. Yeah. That's why I'm like, that when there are like, say there was a mass like ban all guns restriction, right? Personally, I don't think that's the answer, because what would happen, like I said before, this would firstly and mostly affect people of color who predominantly own them for self-protection, because our country has proven they can't even go to the grocery store or sleep in their own home and be safe. So they own them for those reasons. But those are the people. Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, I use this as an example, would not have a gun. Obviously, it didn't do any good. She's dead, but he was within his rights. Someone breaks down the door in the middle of the night. He would have his gun taken away. But I guarantee you that kid in Buffalo wouldn't have. He'd still have his.
Oh yeah.
At least as this how we enforced the ban started to trickle in, it's not going to go to him first.
No. And that's things like the Buffalo one specifically, because that was racially motivated. That's going to keep happening. They're all going to keep happening, but especially the racially motivated ones, because we made Kyle Rittenhouse into a national hero, and people are going to like, oh, I can get away with this really easily. All I need is a good defense team, a good talking point on Fox. You know what I mean? Sucking
and
Joe
not
Rogan's
only
dick.
Get away with it, but I might be offered internships for major politicians after I do this and invited up on stage at political conventions.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's all gross, and like even back to the like teachers getting guns. It's like they just want like a shootout to happen, like in front of children, like where these teachers don't have any. I say women. I was about to say women because I'm thinking of the specific teachers that died.
Yeah.
But teachers in general. Like, they have no money to pay for school supplies and time, because they're all parents themselves, a lot of them.
And so they didn't choose to be teachers because they also wanted to learn how to shoot guns. Like, they chose this career for a specific reason. Yeah. And we have now, schools are overloaded with cops. Yeah. So the teachers don't need to be armed. The cops clearly aren't even doing shit either.
Yeah, and there was a security officer in Buffalo too. It's like these people with obviously this kid. I don't know if the grandmother died, but he shot his grandmother right beforehand because she was upset.
Yeah,
she was pissed at his phone bill, and so he shot her. And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he was like a weird kid, the quiet kid. Like, of course, he was a weirdo." And then he was like, "All right," and this is all in like Facebook messages with this random chick in Germany that he was friends with, is saying like, okay, I just shot my grandmother in the face. I'm going to go shoot up an elementary school right now. So this guy in
the supermarket.
No. I said elementary. No. This is the Salvador Ramos, the shooter for the elementary school. He shot his grandmother.
I thought the supermarket guy shot his grandmother. They happened so fucking close together that all the details. This was like a week prior.
I know. It's so bad. But like as I was gonna say, like all of these people have mental health problems. White supremacy is a mental health problem. Seek help.
Yeah.
All of it. Like they're all not there. So it's also like they don't give a fuck if they're going to a place that's going to have the good guys with the guns either. So it's like it's not going to stop bad guys with the gun from even attempting. So it's like even let's say it scares them a little bit, it won't. And they get through. Human error has happened and will continue to happen. So it's like this is just so stupid. So 54% of Americans support stricter gun control laws. And this is a recent poll, including an assault weapons ban. And that's exactly what this guy had. He had 2 ARs with him that he bought on his 18th birthday. And 84% of all Americans support universal background checks. But the problem is with gun control, this is one of the many issues in which majority opinion in the nation runs into a brick wall because of a Senate rule called the filibuster that provides a veto over national policy to a minority of the states. Because of slavery, basically.
That's why the electoral college, we just have a lot of shit.
And again, like most of these minority of the states are largely rural, predominantly white, and Republican states, counties, all of that stuff. And after the Sandy Hook elementary school shootings in Connecticut, the Senate in 2013 voted on a measure backed by Obama to impose background checks on all gun sales. Great. The 54 senators who supported the bill represented 194 million Americans. So 194 million Americans voted yes for stricter gun control laws to impose the background checks. And 54 senators voted for that. The remaining senators who opposed the bill represented 118 million people. So the remaining 118 people did not want the stricter gun control. But because of the Senate's filibuster rule, which requires the backing of 60 senators to move legislation to a vote, the 118 million people prevailed. Not the 194 million, 118.
Wow.
Because of the filibuster. The outcome likely would not differ today. Last year, the House passed legislation to expand and strengthen background checks, but it too has been blocked by Republican filibuster in the Senate. Yay! What the fuck is going on? And this is more recent. A House passed a bill, H.R. 1446, backed by Clyburn in South Carolina, would close what's known as the Charleston loophole, which allows some licensed gun sales to go through before a required background check is done. Specifically, the legislation would increase the amount of time from 3 business days to a minimum of 10 business days from a federal firearms licensee must wait to receive a completed background check prior to transferring a firearm to an unlicensed person. Using that loophole, a white gunman was able to legally purchase a firearm to kill 9 people at a historically Black church in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. And it's unclear when the Senate will vote on this measure, but it needs 60 votes, as we said before, in the chamber to overcome the filibuster. And it's clear the legislation does not have that support, at least right now, nor does it have full Democratic backing to get the Senate rule altogether. Like, yes, we can say all we want until we're blue in the face that like it's Republicans that are ruining this, but it's also Democrats too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Joe Manchin being a huge fucking piece of shit. That's just one of them. But if you want to take it from there to continue. Just to mention, because this is another thing, like
a 2-party system isn't efficient anyway. But before I jump into what I was going to say, like every little piece of how our system is built needs to be restructured. And I know that can't just like happen. You don't just go in and change it. But the detail of, it's just accepted. It's just the way it is. We need 60 votes for this. That number doesn't need to happen. Like it should more relevant. Like how close is the vote? If it's within 2 votes, we wait. If it's, you know what I mean? Like there's so many little things that we don't actually question. All we question is who we vote in and who majority and minority, because that's all we kind of, but like who's the boss? Like, why can't we this is bullshit.
Well, it's like, everything goes toward, because of these red states that are all rural and will continue to be red. And
Exactly.
they will continue to vote for their Republican senators who will do actually nothing for them and they're mostly poor. And their senators will not take care of them. They just vote against their best interest. It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. But, and all that is true. And I also am like, neither side is giving us, gonna ever give us what we really want, what is needed. Neither side, because politics by nature, Biden's not doing what we need. Kamala Harris isn't doing what we need.
No.
Like Pelosi isn't doing what we need. It doesn't actually, and not to say, oh, don't vote. Like obviously the limited power that has, it counts. Like we should vote. Yes, we should be informed and we should vote. I fully believe that. However, no part of me, I'm not over here like rallying for votes forever and ever and ever, because at the end of the day, I know that that's not going to make the real changes. Because so just days after the shooting in Buffalo at the supermarket and the day of the elementary school shooting, Pelosi and Clyburn were campaigning for Henry Queller, who's an anti-abortion, pro-NRA candidate. Everything is looped into politics, and people going so far into thinking, especially the left, I think, both sides do this, but the left really has this like, and I consider myself, I am liberal, but there's this like thing where they just think that they're better than everybody else and will solve everything, and Pelosi's our savior and Biden's going to change it all and Obama's going to fix it all. And it's like, they're still politicians. They're still looped in. They're thinking about the next election. They're thinking about who's going to support who and who's going to be cut out of this. It's a game, and they're all playing it on both sides. And so it's like,
it's all about power. That's all it is.
It's all about power and regulating things that should be human rights. Like, I mean, the rights to what we do with our own uterus. Like Pelosi is campaigning for someone who's anti-abortion.
It's so disgusting.
It's so disgusting. And we cannot just like go by blind faith and just, as a Democrat, I like this policy they put into place. Pelosi's a hero. No. Like nobody is actually. And actually people, I think, in my personal opinion, I won't speak for you, I think that people wanting to get into politics and make change is one thing. It's naive though, because I think anyone who desires that level of power already doesn't deserve it. And so those who should be in power making decisions aren't climbing the ladder because they're not the kind of people who desire that type of, they're not power hungry, but so it's a catch-22.
I mean, and there are out there, like Jessica Cisneros is one, had a really hard fight against her, but like true leftists that want to get shit done don't have backing in the Democratic Party because it's still run by old fucks. That want power. Like, I think what the end of the day is, because I again, like you said, like I believe in voting. I do. I just think these people need to die.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, that's scary though. I agree with you. But then I'm like, this kid, these shooters from the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Young.
This the supermarket kid, it's a kid. He's what, Gen Z?
Yeah.
And he's writing the N-word on his gun and targeting black neighborhoods and going in. So it's not even just like, it's not going to die with that generation. Like they're being currently raised. This kid was born way after us. And he did that. And so it's like, who's raising?
Well, those are I think that's like, these are like the, not bottom of the barrel. I don't want to like, but like,
but like versus politicians who are in power.
True. Yeah. But I think statistically speaking, when it comes to where we lean on the political scale, and like how many boomers are going to die by 2024 and how many Gen Z voters and like how left leaning Gen Z are and how like they're not going to be voting for the fucking moderates that are fucking up our country.
Yeah.
That kind of gives me hope, but I don't even know if we're going to last that long.
I know. I agree with you though. And so that's what we just said, like voting is important, but it will not solve these deeper issues. And this is because the ability to count money in the face of mounting death is an art form and a precise science in America.
Yeah.
Like literally in the face of death, it's just like, well, where's the money at?
Yeah, they don't care.
Like, where does it? No. And so the issue obviously is money in politics. They're allowing children to die because of the gun lobby. The planet's dying because of big oil. And people are dying and going without health care because of the insurance lobby. So inaction is bought. Yeah. It is like, we are in a capitalistic society. So you want people to not stand up and fight for what's right. It's okay if if you know that a lot of people are going to know this is wrong. You can still buy your way out of or into anything.
Doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter.
You look at all of these fucking, like Elon Musk. Like all of these billionaires that like the allegations that came out this week is so not surprising.
No.
They're just going to continue to get richer. They love just keeping poor people poor because they can keep the minimum wage low and refrain from giving anybody any sort of human rights, benefits, anything, because it means they get richer. And like that's all it's going to happen when we keep voting for people that don't actually serve our best interest.
Yep. And you need these core voting issues. Like if we actually solved situation, I don't know what solved even means, but like, you know, solved the pro-life, pro-choice thing or the gun control thing. But then what platforms are these people going to run on? And they're always calculating on like, okay, well, most of my base is they put pro-life over these values. So I have to stick with the pro. If I lose that, then they might move over to the other side because they also value this. It's a
Meanwhile,
game.
They probably had an abortion or two in their life already.
For sure. Or they've paid for someone's.
Right.
And then there's, so gun reform needs to happen. This is my opinion. Gun reform does need to happen, but there are issues regarding how these laws will be enforced. Yeah. And like we mentioned before, all major restrictive laws, even if they're not worded overtly racist, because there's a lot of legalese and things where, oh no, it doesn't say. It's not about that. It's about how they're going to be enforced.
Yeah, because they'll never be scared of white people with a gun. That's why they always, you alive. See the picture of them. They walk out of these fucking shootings and they're alive.
They're alive, and they might even stop them at Burger King on the way to the station.
Exactly. They might even make them into a literal national hero.
Yeah, exactly. And so obviously these restrictive laws, including like reversing Roe versus Wade, obviously it affects all women, and it's going to affect women of color first, women of 100%. Low socioeconomic status first. Yeah. Exactly. Low socioeconomic status. That's the same thing that would happen with a major restrictive gun ban. It's going to affect the people that, if anyone needs a gun in this country, it's fucking black people because they're being targeted left and right. And they're the ones who are going to get their guns taken away first. And it might not even ever trickle down to where what's his face in Buffalo gets his taken away, you know? So it's just, we can't be so quick to just like, oh, this is the answer. These restrictive laws are the answer. Reform is one thing, and obviously things need to change, but
there's there's so much context to it and what that means. And like, no matter what we think, no matter like how many steps forward we think we're actually getting under the surface, under that iceberg, we're actually moving a few steps back, maybe even 10 steps back, because of how we still honor and put power into the hands of white.
Yeah. And
men.
Always. And politicians, as I kind of stated, but they're not equipped to instigate the changes that we need because they're deeply embedded into the system. They're bought. Their roles are bought. How long they get to stay there. Everything's about money. Racism, capitalism, sexism, classism, all of that. And so to seriously evolve into a new structure, I think the American people, it's about organizing. It's about empowering ourselves and one another, educating ourselves, learning about actually the systems, how they work, what our rights are, and not just saying, okay, well, there's a Republican side and the Democrat side, and so there's these two options. Yeah. Think for yourself. Like we have such highly evolved brains and capacity for critical thinking, and yet we just like want to be told these are your options and now pick one, and they're all built on some shit. So it's like
please do your research when you're voting, and also like, and that's why we do episodes like this. Like we want to like teach you about things that maybe you didn't know about before. Like the filibuster is so harmful and important to understand. And if you keep voting against your best interest, shit's going to stay in there forever. Like, we're never going to get rid of it. The minority of this country will continue to win. The minority,
and
meaning
like also highlighting,
states.
And highlighting the nuances, because I think a lot of people, if they're voting, Google like, what does my Democratic representative say about this? What's their stance on this? Is this, they literally Google, is Bill blah blah blah, is Bill blah 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 good or bad? And then it's like, I'll scan it, Spark Notes. Most Democrats say, okay, then yes. And the thing is, there's so many more nuances, because I know a lot of people on the left who be so quick, who believe a lot of the same things I do, who be so quick to be like, ban all guns. We need a ban on all guns. All guns are bad. It's not like that. I don't believe it's like that. And I think that would actually be really catastrophic. And so we just need to think.
It's also too late. It's also way too late. It's way too fucking late. And if you hear actual like experts talking about it, they'll tell you it's way too late to ban guns in this country. That's how sad it is. It does not work. We have to start with like, you know, the background checks or whatever, you know, getting rid of ARs and
and I think that like a lot of this is going to take organizing, the working class organizing, because we don't realize how much power we actually have, and kind of utilizing what our biggest powers are as citizens of a capitalistic society. Our two biggest our two biggest powers that we hold are our dollar and our labor.
Yes.
And those are the two things that we actually hold, that a capitalistic society depends on, that our politicians depend on. So we can use those if we think critically, if we organize like as a working class, and just anybody who's just not a politician. We have the power, the spending power, our data. Now data is like being what Facebook gathers and all those things. That's surpassed oil as like the biggest, oh my God.
Commodity?
Not asset. Yeah. Like the most valuable commodity now is actual data. And we own we don't, now Facebook does, but we are data, what we think, what we feel, what we want, our money. Like we own all this stuff, and we don't acknowledge our own power. We don't use it. We don't stand up to politicians in a way. We just go with the status quo way too often. Yeah. And I think that's on us. That's on everybody, because we're just so dulled
desensitized down. Yeah. Completely desensitized. And I get it. Like, especially with COVID and everything that's happened in the last couple of years, you just want to turn off your phone and just take a nap. And I'm right there with you. But there are times where we have to start getting smart here and start paying attention to, like Molly said, paying attention to what candidates are up, like who is representing you right now, what their like background, like their voting patterns are, their records. Yes, exactly. And then when their seat is up, because fuck that. Fuck everybody in power, honestly, because nothing's going to happen. And specifically these motherfuckers that are in power, because I mean, there's been obviously since these shootings just an influx of just thoughts and prayers, you know, from Republican leadership. And I love this kind of narrative of like talking about like Republicans that will give these tweets and then comparing that to how much money the NRA gives them.
Yes.
Like Mitt Romney had this tweet. I don't have it up here, but it was basically just how he's just grieving and how horrified he is. Yet he is the #1 Republican that's paid by the NRA at $13 million. NRA donation, $1 million in NRA donations have been given to Mitt Romney. And the average gun deaths in his state per year is 365. So a death a day. Good job, Mitt. Good job in Utah. Good job.
Good old red, white, and blue.
And the beloved Mitch MCConnell tweeted that he's horrified and heartbroken and reports the disgusting violence directed at innocent school kids. You don't give a fuck, because why? You've been paid $1.2 million from the NRA.
Also, these are the children that you all want so badly to be born before their consciousness even is created. Let's just, here they are. They're in school.
Actually, no, they're not, because they're brown kids.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't give a fuck. That's what I'm saying. This is going to be interesting. Of course, right now, everyone's like, the hubbub is high. But I wonder how this actually, like, we know that, spoiler alert, nothing's going to happen. But like, especially because these were brown kids. They didn't give a shit that it was white kids in Connecticut. They're definitely not going to give a fuck that it was brown
exactly.
kids. They're not going to give a fuck.
No, they're just going to teach kids like how to hide better. Why weren't you like behind? Why weren't you in the closet?
Yeah. Disgusting. Robb Portman, another senator, he tweeted that his heart goes out to the families, the victims, the horrible tragedy in Uvalde. Our nation mourns with the innocent children, teachers, and all those affected by the senseless act of violence. $3 million from the NRA he gets.
I'm gonna throw up.
If any of these are your representatives, please keep that in mind. And if you need to educate your family, if they're people that will vote for them, please do that.
Yeah.
And then also Senator Marsha Blackburn, horrified and heartbroken to learn the significant loss of life in the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Please join me in lifting their loved ones up in prayer. Thank you to I don't even know if she's Southern.
No, but this is working. Yeah.
Thank you to the local first responders working on the scene. $1.3 million from the NRA she's received. So it's just so disgusting. Another fun fucking fact about this shooting that boggles the mind is that ICE was there.
What?
ICE was at the shooting. So speaking about race and how no one gives a fuck that these were brown families and brown babies.
Right.
ICE was there, and they're considered first responders, even though they were 100 miles from the border.
Right. So that they can make sure that these parents waiting to see if their kids are alive are separated.
Yeah. Yeah. So
just in case they're breaking the law.
Exactly. So parents and families that might have, who knows, these are probably all American citizens.
Yeah.
But if they were undocumented, they would have had to have made a choice of whether or not to check on their child to see if they were alive or hurt, or being possibly deported, or just the fact that they had to be in fear of that.
Yeah.
is absolutely fucking disgusting when most of our illegal immigrants are white.
And then say that their child is okay, gets out, the children are in a certain area. Your parent isn't even there on the most traumatic day of your life because they were taken away because it was found out while they were waiting to see if you're alive, that they're undocumented.
Yeah, disgusting. There was a really popular Twitter account called Code of Vets. It's like one of the biggest, I think it's run by a woman, but it's like a huge presence in the veteran and right-wing this sector or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this bitch tweeted oh my God, just heard about the shooting. Heard that the boy was Hispanic. Did he illegally cross the border? We gotta strengthen our borders. Immediately turned it into a strengthen, because the last name was Ramos. She went right to, and she's not the only one. There's millions of racist motherfuckers that probably were like, oh, we gotta secure our borders because this was a Mexican.
Yeah, and this is also the white men's chance to be like, see, it's not only white men that are mass shooters.
Right, exactly.
No, y'all still have it. Don't worry.
Yeah, he was born in North Dakota, by the way. He is as American as apple pie, guys, just like our mass shootings. So we're doing really, really great here.
Yeah.
I think it's disgusting what we force our children to go through. Especially, with all the news about the pro-life, that Roe v. Wade and all our rights are being taken away. Like we said, we want these children to be born just to die.
Right.
And
this is oh, sorry.
I was going to say, it's like they wonder why pregnancies are on the low. It's not because we can't have them. It's because we don't want to have them. And they wonder why.
Right. And, our childhood, like you and me, Alyssa, when we were in elementary school, it's acting like, oh, this is just humanity. It's just mental health issues. And listen, first of all, there was way less security. There was no one on campus with a gun in the 90s when I was in school, elementary school. But also, Also, there was no one walking onto a campus and just shooting. And the thought to have drills, my point is that you and I, correct me if I'm wrong for you, but I don't think any schools had mass shooter drills.
No.
In elementary school,
we had like bomb threat drills.
Yes, we had bomb threat drills. I remember that after 9/11. I don't remember it before 9/11.
I don't either.
And also, we had tornado drills, fire drills. And then I remember, I think in high school, so this wasn't in elementary school, but in high school, I remember us having one drill where if there is a shooter, like within a certain mile radius, we have a drill as a school, but it wasn't like there's an active shooter in school. What do you do? But those drills, like, what the fuck? We didn't even used to have those.
No. And I mean, like Columbine was 99. And that obviously was so huge.
Yeah, that was like so close to 9/11. So like a lot of little things changed, but
yeah, but that one didn't cause like us to have the drills. Like it's just gotten so much worse.
Yeah.
Because it's also just the notoriety of it all. Like these fucking sick fucks just want to get like famous out of it. And like they don't care if they die, they'll die famous. And that's why it doesn't matter if you have a good guy with a gun again, because they don't care. They don't care if they get shot by you. They don't give a fuck. They're going to go down swinging. They're going to take as many innocent children down
because
with them. They don't care.
The higher the number is, the more likely it's going to be in the news. And now this is the deadliest mass shooting. And now this is, so no, they don't care.
No, they don't care at all. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I think that I don't know. I could say a lot of things, but I think I would be put on a watch list.
I think I'm already on one. So.
I know. I was talking to Ryan the other day, and this was not even. This is probably about abortion. This is before the shooting, the back-to-back shootings. But I said something, and I was like, "We have a Google like home that like listens." I'm like, I'm on a watch list. 100%, I'm on a watch list.
I for sure am.
I don't care.
I've been on one. Yeah. Hope y'all are enjoying the show.
Yeah, I know. As I Google like what my diarrhea means, like
they're like, no, she's fine. She's more concerned with her bowels.
But yeah. Let's shout out Everytown. They do really good job with like grassroots organizing and researching solutions to gun violence depending on where you're at, and supporting survivors of gun violence and implementing smart gun policies and all of this stuff. They do a really good job. So please visit everytown.org if you would like to learn more about what they do and to donate. So please do that.
Yes.
We are on Instagram and Twitter at the SOS Pod. We are on YouTube, SOS with Molly and Alyssa. We're on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts, we are there. So please listen to us, subscribe to us, rate and review us. It helps us reach a lot more people.
And especially conversations like this one where there's so many nuanced points to bring up and things. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't actually think about that. If this were to happen, that would... both of us really encourage you guys, if there are like segments of our conversation that stand out to you, share them, repost them, use them to start conversations with people in your life, to kind of pick each other's brain and just start critical thinking, not to like bash someone into or out of an opinion, but just like, what do you guys think about this? Because, I didn't really think about it, but this could also happen. These are the conversations that need to start happening. And sometimes it helps to have a book or a podcast episode or something to like start the conversation. So use our conversations, share them, post them, whatever. But we really encourage that. And also leave us reviews. It helps us in the algorithm. We have a Patreon if you guys want to support us financially. $3 a month, $7 a month, or $11 a month. So it's basically nothing. And it really helps. So do that. And I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Alyssa Rosano.
Here's to turning meltdowns
into magic.
Into magic.
So many meltdowns.
I know. Not enough magic.